I'm Gemma Lonsdale, psychic medium and life coach, and you're listening to the Happy Psychic podcast. Hello, lovely, and welcome to this week's episode of the Happy Psychic podcast. I am your host, your guiding light, Gemma Lonsdale. So you will have noticed, no doubt, that I've had a little bit of a break. I think the last episode I put out was at the start of November 2022, and now we're in January 2023, and I have decided to freshen up the podcast a little bit. I'm going to be a lot more strict on the guests that I actually have on board. And what we're really going to be focused on is healing, healing work. We're going to look at spiritual development and psychic development and the other realms and understanding a little bit about that. And on occasion, I will go into like UFOs and conspiracy stuff. So I think I'll take each guest on its merits, but that's really where I want it to be focused on. So I guess moving forward into this year for me, I really want to get out in front of people a lot more. So that is going to be doing more lives on TikTok. So that's going to be one thing. I also plan on doing like a little mini tour across the UK. And it is going to be a small tour. I realize that my following isn't, I'm not Beyonce. That's fine. I know I'm not Beyonce. So I'm not going to be playing the major arenas. So I think that's just the important thing to get out of the way, first of all. But I do want to do a little bit of a tour, really, and see people, even Northern Ireland, Southern Ireland, Scotland, England, Wales, and have a few places across the country that I'll go to throughout the year. And really with that, I want to do mediumship readings, and it's probably a little bit different maybe to the standard, evidential mediumship that you might pay to go and see at your local pub or whatever it might be. I want to try and just put my stamp on it. I don't really do mediumship the way that people typically do, the way it's always been done. I do like to put my own spin on things, and I do like to do a lot about past life regression, and I also like to do about healing, spiritual guidance. It's not just about bringing you your loved ones, it's about showing you the power of spirit and helping you along your path, really. So that's probably symbolic of where it's going to be about as well whenever I'm doing these physical events. So I am still working on that, but you can expect to hear from me a little bit more about that once we've sort of firmed up venues and dates. And there's a strong chance that I'll have a friend of mine with me along that, a medium friend. So just watch this space really for stuff like that, okay? And I guess I wanted to, I really was battling with what to do for this first episode. So this is like season 2, and I really want to start ramping up the podcast and really pushing it a little bit more. And the one thing that I really did want to focus on actually was healing and the impact that can really have, the positive impact that can have on us. And I think regardless of what we are aware of, some of us are on a healing journey and we don't even know. Some of us are very consciously aware that we're on a healing journey. Some of us has been, we've been forced down it by, the universe or spirit or God. And then some of us are sort of still kicking and screaming, not really wanting to go down that path yet. And whatever stage you're at, I think that that's absolutely fine. There's no right or wrong way. There's no perfect way to go through this journey. But I think that we just all need to acknowledge and accept ourselves for where we're at right now. Wherever you're at is fine for you right now. I always just think you're always in the exact place that you need to be. And that could be that you're somewhere that you don't want to be. You could be, at the very start of your journey when you want to be at the finish, but you're always exactly where you need to be, even if that is that you're resisting it and kicking and screaming and not really willing to go. However, what I will say is that our healing journey is never finished. I've got my cup of tea. Our healing journey is never finished, so you'll never be at the end. There's never an end in that tunnel. You might be, you might reach the end of this portion, but there's never really going to be an end. There's always going to be a continual something else. There's always going to be something else that you're going to come up against. So that's going to be the one thing. And one of the things as well, and it was really prompted by looking at this. I was reading this book last night, and I really love this book, and I find it very, very useful for anybody that's listening on Spotify or Apple. It's Martha Beck, and it's The Way of Integrity, finding the path to your true self. Okay, so it is like a bit of a self-help book. I've read a few of her books now. I've read this cover to cover a few times. I've got notes in the columns. There's some really good exercises to do in there. And I use some of Martha's stuff as part of my own coaching program as well. And I would definitely say, if you're on a bit of a journey, looking to explore yourself on a little bit deeper, there's a lot of light bulb moments that will come out whenever you're reading this book. And one of the things that Martha actually talked about whenever I was reading last night, it just sort of sparked something in me, is that, we change. You can have your perspective on something today, but just be aware that actually there might be other perspectives. And, as we move through life, we learn new things every day. And actually your perspective might change. And I know that you might be thinking, well, what has that got to do with my healing journey? But it's got a lot to do with it. It's about you growing as a person, and your perception changes on things, your perspective changing, how you view other people, how you view yourself. We're always learning. Every day we learn something new, and none of us are perfect. I'm certainly not, and I can guarantee you that you're not either. None of us are perfect. And I think that one of the things that when we're on our healing journey is not to be striving for perfection. I think that's the first mistake that some of us make, is trying to be perfect and trying to tick everyone's boxes and trying to live up to the ideal standard that you have in your head or that somebody else has in their head. But actually just trying to work on improvement, I think, is the first thing. Like, just work on improving yourself and, thinking, okay, well, what can I do better? Or how can I deal with this better next time? If you're faced with a situation that causes a lot of discomfort for you, that's the prime example of an opportunity to heal. Whenever you're feeling that discomfort in a particular situation, regardless of whether it's in a relationship or within a friendship connection, within your career, it's an opportunity for you to focus on healing something. And it's an opportunity to really push yourself inwards and turn inwards and analyze that situation. So focus on the improvement and what you can learn, rather than focusing on reaching perfection, because perfection you're never going to reach. Like, my guides are always telling me, even whenever we cross over into spirit, and we have a lot of healing to do then as well, your healing is never ever finished. And when you're in spirit and you're focused on the healing as well, you're never finished. There's always stuff to learn. And they would even tell me about, God himself isn't actually perfect. He would describe himself, I always describe him as a he, but maybe that's my social conditioning to think that he is a he. Maybe he's a she. But I'm always told that actually, there's always something to learn. And even, God himself, the creator of all, is always learning. There's always something to learn and something to be improved upon. So, that is really the message that comes through quite a lot, that we're always learning. So just try and focus yourself on the learnings rather than on the being perfect, because I think we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves when it comes to being perfect. I think as well, I've had a personal experience recently where I had put something out there, and it was a prediction with a timeline. And I very rarely give timelines. For anybody that knows me and has had a reading of me, I'm always very, very cautious about the timelines from spirit, because I always see timelines shift. And my experience of my own stuff, of things that I have predicted, world events, also readings that I've done for other people, I have seen timelines shift, and it happens a lot. So first of all, my guides rarely would give me a timeline for different things regarding of, what it is that I'm working on, whether it's, something for myself or something for somebody else. And also, whenever they do give them, I generally give them with a bit of a pinch of salt. Now, in this particular instance, I didn't. I was quite adamant, no, they're telling me this is the timeline, this is when it's going to happen, and it didn't come to fruition within that timeline. And I incurred quite a large amount of negative comments and things like that. Some of them were really positive and supportive, but some of them were negative. And I think that it really pushed me inwards, because that had a big impact on me and how I felt about myself, because I was suddenly thinking, oh my gosh, like these people think that I'm a fraud, that I've done this just to create, some kind of um animosity, really, some panic. I wanted to cause panic in people, and that is not what I'm about at all. And I was absolutely horrified that these people, this handful of people who had been quite vocal about their views now towards me, that they felt like that. And that really caused a lot of anxiety that I'm still feeling today. Now, it's the 2nd of January, and I don't suffer from anxiety, but it has caused a lot of anxiety within me and a lot of discomfort. But what I've recognized is that it's really given me an opportunity to heal and to focus and to turn inwards and to analyze why I'm feeling that way, and focus on what I can learn from this experience. What are the learnings to take from it, and how can I improve things now moving forward? So that's what I would always say. That's always look at the learnings and look and see what you can be doing to turn yourself inwards. And sometimes, we have uncomfortable situations that we come into. Sometimes we hit a spot in life where it really feels like the universe is against us and everything just happens one after the other, and it's very, very hard for us to get up. But also, those experiences can be quite humbling as well. And we all have egos, regardless of how much we want to meditate and be zen and be perfect. We all have an ego, and that ego can surface. And sometimes the universe does need to knock us down a peg or two. And I'm not saying that that's why those things happen to you. I'm not saying that your ego got out of control or anything like that, but it can be very, very humbling to have those experiences happen to us. But I can guarantee you one thing: if you have experienced something terrible, or a multitude of terrible things that have sort of really made you feel like the world is against you, there is a very good reason for it. And there is a lot of lessons to learn, or at least one big significant lesson. There is a purpose. Everything always serves a purpose, and it will be setting you up for something better that is in the future. And whilst that doesn't take away the pain and the struggles that you're experiencing, or that you have experienced, hopefully it will remove the sting a little bit and give you something positive to take from it, to think, okay, well, all of these horrible experiences that I've had are really helping me move forward. Because that they are, when you think of the amount of things that you have learned in your lifetime, we typically learn things whenever times are hard, whenever times are tough, whenever we've been sent a challenge or a trial. That's whenever we really learn. We don't learn whenever things are hunky dory and going swimmingly and we've got money in the bank, we're going on holiday. That's not whenever we learn. Our learning is quite limited in those times. Those times are for the enjoyment, so we have balance in our lives. But whenever the struggles come along, that's whenever we learn. Whenever we have no money in the bank, whenever we're worried about the gas bill, whenever we can't afford the school lunches for the kids, whenever you've just had a cancer diagnosis, whatever it might be, it's those times that we experience trials that we really learn. So in one respect, we have to be quite thankful for those coming along, because they will push us forward and they will serve a purpose, and they're going to help with our soul growth and help us evaluate ourselves, help us become better people, help us become better partners, better friends. There's an awful lot to be gained from things like that. But it also gives us this nudge to turn inwards. And it is something that we don't really do a lot of. Whenever I think to myself, even over Christmas, and I have spent a lot of time in solitude over Christmas, I've been really focused inward. Healing doesn't necessarily come in one big chunk. You might have like little chunk, and then everything will be fine, then another little chunk, and then another little chunk. And I've had a little chunk over Christmas. So my Christmas and New Year has been really focused on turning inwards and unpicking some stuff. I I'm not brilliant with journaling. So I don't journal regularly. And it's something that I do whenever I feel I need to. But I don't always journal as regularly as what I should. However, I do find that it does help me unpick stuff whenever I have that stuff to unpick. I turn inwards, I meditate. Definitely meditating is the thing that I do turn towards. I've also I'm an energy worker, so I'm a Reiki practitioner, although I wouldn't describe Reiki as what I do today. I do a lot of energy work to try and sort of remove those anxious energies and negative energies. I do visualizations. Everything like that really helps whenever we're focused on our healing. But the important thing really is, I guess, on your healing journey is to be open to it and try not to fight against it. And it's natural because whenever those feelings come up and those times come up in our life where we are being pushed on a healing journey, it causes a lot of discomfort. You know, you've got repressed feelings and emotions coming up to the surface. You have this sudden urge to figure out, okay, well, why do I feel like that after this connection has ended? Or why do I feel like that? Why does that person trigger me? You know, so it causes us discomfort. It's really, healing isn't easy. It's not comfortable. If you're saying that you're on your healing journey and everything is tickety boo, then I would question whether not that you're doing it right, not that there's a right way, but healing in the nature of it does just bring about a lot of discomfort with it. And it's that discomfort that we kind of fight against, really. But once we get on that journey and once we get through it, and I do say the only way out is through it. You can't avoid it. You can't bypass it. You can't take the ring road. You can't take a detour. You have to just go through it. And you'll never be given too much that you can handle. So you'll always be given the amount that you can handle. If things start to become a bit too much, then spirit, in the universe, your angels, God, whoever you're connected to, will really help and just take the foot off the gas a little bit whenever time is pushing you too forward too quickly, and you're taking too much on. Okay, so they will always try to step in and help alleviate that. But the whole nature of it is that there's a lot of discomfort there. But once you get out the other side of it, it is a lot better. Okay, and things get easier. And it's always good to remember as well that whenever we're in the moment of something, it's very fresh, it's very emotional. So if you've had something that has just happened to you, whether it's I don't know, something that has happened to you in life that has left you really shaken, or whenever we're in that moment, the feelings are very, very raw. But don't forget that our feelings are very transient and they will change and develop and differ. It's like the ebb and flow of life. When you look back on this point from the future, you will inevitably see that you've grown, and that situation won't be as impacting you as much as what it did at that particular time. It won't be as raw. It won't hurt as much. You won't have that state of shock sometimes that you experience whenever something terrible has happened. And I hope that would give you a little bit of comfort, really. We all have trials and tribulations that we experience. Some of them are impacting just us. Some of them, it's a wider family thing. Some people, when we think about like people in Ukraine and Russia, for example, experiencing war, the people in Ukraine specifically and having to leave their homes and things like that, like their turbulence and their turmoils are completely different to what I'm experiencing in my life. But at the same time, that doesn't devalue what I'm experiencing as a person. And I would always encourage you to try not to compare yourself, because once you start saying, oh, well, I should be happy, I shouldn't be feeling like this, I shouldn't be this because look at that person, they have it much worse. They've just, lost the breast, they've just lost a partner, they've just whatever it might be. That's really you devaluing your situation. And how you're feeling and what you're going through and what you're experiencing is just as valid as anybody else. Okay, so just give yourself the time to heal, and just welcome it. Welcome the healing along, because you will be a better person for it. So with that in mind, I want to leave you with that for today. I have just started a new Facebook group. I really want to help people with their spiritual development. So you can find that the Gemma Lonsdale development workshop, the Gemma Lonsdale development group on Facebook if you're on Facebook. I'm actually not a big Facebook user, but I do realize that it's quite a good place for people to to get on and to connect, and obviously it has the group facilities and everything on there. So I thought I would make use of it. Now, for some of you who have attended one of my development workshops previously that I've held on Zoom, I do still intend to do those. I haven't got any planned in for next year yet. Sorry, for this year, because we are in 2023 already. I don't have any planned in for this year, but I know that I will definitely be doing some this year. So keep your, you can keep your eyes peeled for that. But if you are interested in really developing yourself spiritually, and by that I mean like your connection to spirit, your different gifts, exploring what gifts that you may have, or exploring gifts that that you're already aware of, then you can come along and find the Facebook group as well. And then if you want to get involved in any of the other stuff, then you're more than welcome to do that. And yeah, I'm very excited about 2023 for many reasons. I'm excited about where my career path is going to take me. I'm excited to see how I can help people. I'm excited to see, some of the world events unfold. There's going to be a lot of change coming up there that is bringing about a lot of positive change. It's the same with our healing journey, that the universe has to heal as a collective, and some of those things that we're being pushed into, some of the darker energies and the darker periods of life, it is to push us to heal and to change our way of life and to change our way of thinking. So I'm looking forward to seeing how things really change and how we can improve life, for not just for ourselves, but for those around us and for the next generations to come. And I'm just super excited to see how many of you are going on a healing journey, a spiritual journey, spiritually awakening, and coming into your gifts as well, because there's so many, and I get so excited. I get really, really excited whenever I see things like that starting to happen. So I'm looking forward to experiencing all of that with you. And of course, getting across the UK and Ireland a little bit more as well, for to do some in-person events and meet some of you all properly. I don't have any intentions of getting to the US yet, which is a shame, because I would really love to go, but of course that'll hopefully change in the future as well. But I do hope that you keep watching. If you do have any suggestions for topics that you really want to be covered, then definitely let me know. I'm really open to feedback. This is your podcast as much as it is mine. So tell me what do you want to talk about? What do you want to listen to? What topics do you want covered? What guests, if you've got a recommendation, maybe even of a guest that you want on, then give me a shout, let me know, and I can get it scheduled. Okay. So thank you very much. And I wish you all a brilliant 2023. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're able to, please rate the show or leave feedback. It would be much appreciated. You can find me on the social channels, TikTok being the most used, by searching for Gemma Lonsdale Guru. If you'd like to book a private reading or inquire about coaching or having me speak at your event, then visit www.gemmalonsdale.guru. You can also join my development group on Facebook by searching Gemma Lonsdale Development Group.